Morning, guys. Raptor Freak Alexiades. Just a real quick one this morning. Wanted to talk a little bit about the interview I saw of Scottie Barnes after the first day of training camp yesterday. It was a short interview, just under 5 minutes. A whole lot said in it. Scottie, you could tell, was tired, which is interesting because every interview and everything I've seen with Scottie, he's had an overabundance of energy and he's just been smiling the whole time. Now, he was smiling during the interview and he was happy, but you could tell he was tired. And that's good because that makes me believe that Nick Nurse is really working those guys as soon as training camp starts. That if the young guy like him with boundless energy is feeling it after the first day, that's great. Now, a couple of things that were said in that interview with Scottie, very interesting stuff. I think that he realizes that the level of play in the NBA is something that he has never dealt with before. Some of these guys that are super talented and big in the lower levels of basketball kind of cruise through their careers where things come easy to them and they're just so dominant and so much better than everybody else that it's just easy and they don't get challenged. They kind of just like set the level of where they're going to be. Well, now that he's come into camp and he's seen Nick Nurse and what he's trying to implement with his offense and defense and practice for a day, and he's seen the level of conditioning it's going to take and the level of strength, he that's what he kept saying. Like, this is a guy who has boundless energy. He knows he's going to have to get his conditioning up super high for what they're going to do. And that's what he said in the interview. He said conditioning and strength. Those are two things. And one of the things he said he was really surprised about was how strong OG and Chris Boucher were. He said that he was really impressed with those two players in particular after playing them in training camp yesterday. And that would make sense because, first of all, OG and him are probably going to be guarding each other in training camp to start. And OG is probably shutting him down, like legitimately. And Scottie's like, whoa, I've never had to play against a guy like this before. OG's giving him the LeBron treatment. And Scottie's like, I've never been locked down like this. He's like, you know what? I want to learn this. I want to get better like this. He's getting challenged, y'all. This is the thing. If you're a really smart kid in school and you're in regular classes, you don't get challenged. You kind of cruise and you don't get to your full potential because you're not challenged. You need to go and get taught by somebody who's going to teach you tougher stuff so that you can get better and better and better. If Scottie Barnes had been drafted by Orlando in the 5th spot, like the NBA wanted them to, and we had taken Jalen Suggs, he would have gone to Orlando and he never would have been challenged. He would have gone down there. He would have been the best player on his team, and he would have led from that. But he would never have been pushed by the other guys to be better, like he's going to be here. And that's why it's so great that he's in Toronto. He's in the place where he can be the best. Like, you go to Orlando, yeah, you'll be the man. You'll get a lot of stats, but you won't ever get to that elite level that you will get with the Toronto Raptors because we will push you there. Somebody like OG Anunoby gets in his face in practice and he says, whoa, this is a whole other level I didn't even know existed. You think he's going to try and get that level himself? Of course. Oh my gosh. I love hearing this. He looked tired yesterday. He looked a little discouraged. He looked a little knocked off his pedestal as far as like, I know I'm big stuff in basketball, but you know what? I just seen stuff that has kind of made me realize, whoa, I have a lot of work to do. And I love that because this is the thing about training camp. Training camp is where a lot of this growth and these changes with players happens. Sure, they work out during the summer and get better athletically and health-wise and conditioning, but they don't get to show it off or do it yet until this week. And this is where they show off their hard work from the summer in training camp for Nick. And they said, Nick, look what I can do now. Chris Boucher's like, I can do this now. And Nick's like, oh, very good, Chris. And, you know, all this stuff. That's what I'm saying. This is a week of growth. Like, a huge amount of growth will go behind the scenes this week, starting yesterday, leading up until the game on Monday. that we won't see or we won't understand fully, but it's happening. And I just love to hear that from Scottie Barnes after the first day of training camp, that he's challenged and he's inspired, and he looks like he's a little worried because he's like, this is going to be hard work, and these guys are really good. And also, just a quick note about Chris Boucher. Chris Boucher is not a very notoriously known grinder, but this guy on the down low is one of the hardest working players on the Raptors. And he has improved so much, and just in the last 2 years, and it shows. And I really love that he has these arms, he has this wingspan, and this incredible talent that's really kind of unique in the NBA. There's not anybody else in the NBA that's completely like Chris Boucher. And he took this criticism of him with his arms, and he's like one of the strongest dudes on the Raptors now. Like, no joke. If you see him this year, his arms are crazy. And the fact that they're so long, that honestly, but on the down low, Chris Boucher, big time grinder in the offseason, and the work will show this year. Watch. Ooh. But I think it's cool that Scottie mentioned him and OG. Oh, of course, OG and him are going to challenge each other. This was what I was talking about. That synergy, that competitiveness behind the scenes that brings the best out of these players when they play other people. You know, they were like, they get to know each other and like, oh, you know, they've got to challenge each other. And Scottie's getting challenged. This is important, because if he was in Orlando's training camp yesterday, how challenged do you think he would have felt yesterday? Seriously, how challenged would he have felt in Orlando? Terrence Ross, I love him. He's a great Raptor. We love Terrence. But come on, Terrence. Terrence is not going to challenge him like OG would. So that stew's still on the oven. It's cooking, and it smells so good. It's going to be so much fun. All right, well, here's to Chris Boucher and OG Anunoby challenging Scottie Barnes. I'm sure Chris sent one of Scottie's shots back. Yeah, and he's like, oh, I didn't know he was that good. Yeah. Okay. All right, y'all. Have a great Wednesday, and I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Just wanted to talk a little bit about something I've noticed with the Scottie Barnes interview late yesterday. All right, take care, everybody. Be good to each other.